It's Groundhog Day, and the Kansas City Chiefs have won the Super Bowl. We're going to talk about it here today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Krabs from Locked On Dolphins. And we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Like to issue a big thank you, shout out, and welcome to our everydayers. Those of you who make us your first listen every single day, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much.
Joe, you said it best. It's Groundhog Day. We have a reigning Super Bowl champion back-to-back for the first time in 20 years. The Kansas City Chiefs officially have a dynasty on their hands. 3 championships in 5 seasons. San Francisco didn't know what was going on at the end of regulation. Kansas City played a really sloppy game. They go 2 for 6 in the red zone. I know you said you have a lot of thoughts about the way that this game played out. Some people thought it was really boring, even though it was full regulation. Where you at?
Yeah, I hate any time that there's not like fireworks left and right. Everybody wants to say it's a boring football game. Well, some of us like defense and special teams too, so I appreciated those components of this football game. But here's the deal, man. Kansas City pooped their pants for the first half of the game, right? Falling all over themselves, playing bad ball. Kansas City, what did San Francisco have to show for it at the end of the first half? A 10-3 lead, right? And they just didn't have that. McCaffrey fumble, costly penalties when they're driving the football. And then you get to the second half. I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs don't score a touchdown until right at the beginning of the fourth quarter, end of the third quarter, after a 3-and-out. San Francisco has a 3-and-out, and then you have this punt that hits off someone's leg, and Richie James can't return it, and it sets up a 16-yard field, and they score a touchdown. It's their first touchdown of the game. Like, congrats to the Kansas City Chiefs. You are the Super Bowl champions. You figure it out over and over and over and over and over again. But boy, oh boy, do you keep getting let off the hook.
Well, I think that's the thing too, is San Francisco is a block extra point. They have the punt that goes off of, I forget who it was, his leg. And then Richie James has to try to,
right.
It was Richie James's leg?
No, Richie James, I don't remember who is a 49ers player's leg, and James tries to field it. Everyone's mad at him. Like, what are you doing? Well, hit off the guy's leg. Well, right. Of course, field it, get the ball, right, when you have a chance to, but that's...
I guess for me, San Francisco miscues. Obviously, the possession, the decision to take the ball to start overtime comes out after the game, according to the Ringer, that the 49ers players didn't even know that there were different overtime rules in the playoffs than there were in the regular season. Chris Jones makes one of the plays of the game with the pressure on that third down play in the low red zone. It's the difference of the game, right? Or one of the differences of the game. Although Kansas City knew, going all the way back to training camp, according to what the players said, if they scored a touchdown, we were going to go down and score a touchdown. We were going to go for 2 to end the game. That's what they said their plan was since training camp for a scenario in the postseason.
Kyle, is there a defendable reason to take the ball in overtime?
No.
Is there because all you're doing, you're putting Patrick Mahomes into a 4-down situation,
especially when it's that quarterback.
Literally, if you score a touchdown or a field goal, you're giving Patrick Mahomes 4 down. Would they convert 2 fourth downs on the drive, or at least one
with Pat's leg? There was the 4th and 1 that they ran the zone read on for 8 yards, and Tony Romo apparently never seen zone read before in his life. He's like, "Oh my God, what an incredible call!"
Romo's bad, Kyle. Romo's bad. He's bad.
Yes. Yeah, just throwing.
It's a shame that Greg Olson's going to lose a premier color commentator job. He's literally the best that we have right now. Maybe Brady will be better. I don't know. But friggin' Romo sucks. He sucks. Now he's goofy. He interrupts Jim. He doesn't say anything. You know what I mean? It's cringe. He's total cringe the whole time.
And he's not objective about certain, like the way he covers a Patrick Mahomes game is different than the way he covers
Right.
other
And
games that
I
he's
get
on.
he's a Josh Allen guy too. So
Oh, he's worse with Josh Allen than he is with Patrick
and I'm
Mahomes.
sitting here telling you as a Bills fan that I think he sucks.
So anyway, I don't want to spend too much time on Tony Romo. But yes, the other one was a 3rd and 1 where Pat scrambles for 19 yards. And it was two short yardage situations. At some point, we just got to catch on in these money situations. Kansas City's going to roll Pat out to his right, and they're going to have some kind of action going on the right flat. I have lost count of the number of games that Kansas City's been in a money situation, and they've run some variation, whether it's corn dog, which was the name of the call for the play, the return motion, the fake jet motion, and all that. But it's when Pat's locked in like this, how do you stop it? And case in point, that's back to your question. The decision to take the ball to start overtime, you go 13 plays, 66 yards, possess the ball for 7 minutes and 38 seconds. You get all that accomplished. Chris Jones gets early pressure on 3rd down, and Brock has to throw the ball away. You end up taking a field goal. And the last 2 possessions for San Francisco were kill shot opportunities. They go 11-64 in a minute and 50, kick a field goal. You go 7 for 40 in 3:53, kick a field goal and add to break a tie. And then you go 13 for 66, 7:38, kick a field goal inside the 10-yard, inside the 5-yard line, and you lose the game.
Mahomes, Super Bowl MVP, I get it. The things that had nothing to do with Patrick Mahomes that the 49ers didn't take advantage of, that's what I'd be left thinking about all day long, and probably for the rest of my life if I was a 49ers fan. Yeah. All right, we're talking more about this game here in just a moment, so be sure to stick with us. Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 3 million members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. I love the format. It's just you against the numbers. You pick more or less than the stat projections on 2 to 6 players, and then you watch the winnings roll in. It's actually demon time on Prize Picks. You can now win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. Demons and Goblins are the newest and most exciting way to play at Prize Picks. Squares marked with red demons or green goblins get you different payouts, and you can now win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks is really simple to play. I can make my picks and submit my entry in less than a minute, and then when you win, the withdrawals are super quick and easy. So check it out. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, pick more, pick less. It's that easy. DoorDash went all out for game day and DoorDashed stuff from all the ads to one lucky winner: cars, snacks, even tax software. DoorDash is the all-in-one app for your everyday needs, from restaurants and groceries to flowers and gifts. So next time you're running low on dinner ideas, pet supplies, or just time, you can get so much more than you realize delivered. Didn't have a chance to hit the grocery store last weekend after all the big game commotion, or maybe your bar cart has mysteriously cleared out. Stock back up for the week ahead with delivery from DoorDash. Football season, it might be over, but we're in the thick of basketball games, the school year, and let's face it, winter. I can think of a million reasons daily to order DoorDash. Hop on the app and make your day a little easier.
Quick administrative note, Joe. Richie James is the Kansas City Chiefs punt returner. So we're talking about Ray McCloud.
Ray McCloud.
And it was Darrell Luter's leg.
Yeah.
Who the ball careened off of there on the punt.
Former 49er Richie James.
Right. Yeah. It's a very it's the musical chairs. I think the next place I wanted to go here, Joe, is talking about the outlook for Kansas City, but talking about the outlook for Kansas City from the defensive side of the ball, where you have Trent McDuffie that plays the game that he plays, and you have L'Jarius Sneed. I would pay L'Jarius Sneed before I pay Chris Jones. I don't know if
pay them both. They have $76 million in cap space.
Yeah, but if you had to pick one, I'd probably prioritize L'Jarius Sneed.
I would too. I just tag one, sign the other one. Like, it's not. You're bringing them both back, right? Reid's already said he's coming back. Travis Kelce said he's coming back. So bring your guys back, find a friggin' receiver, find a left tackle, and go to war, right? Like,
So the direction I'm going here is when we did the pregame preview, we talked about for San Francisco and their outlook offensively that it was going to have to be the peripheral players, right? It was going to have to be Juszczyk making plays. It was going to have to be Juwan Jennings making plays. Juwan Jennings had an outstanding football game. Threw the touchdown pass, 4 for 42 and a touchdown. Excellent after the catch. But Joe, Deebo Samuel, 11 targets, 3 receptions for 33 yards. Brandon Ayuk, 6 targets, 3 receptions, 49 yards. And George Kittle, 3 targets, 2 receptions, 4 yards. The exact thing that you were really worried about coming into the game from just a matchups perspective with the corners, the DBs, the linebackers for San Francisco versus Kansas City's defense. Thank goodness Christian McCaffrey caught 8 of his 8 targets for 80 yards and a touchdown to go with the effort that they had on the ground, where they had to really work to grind out yards on the ground. I think that further amplifies the value of Christian McCaffrey, but the fact that you can roll into this and say, okay, Ayuk, we're going to hold for 3 for 49, and almost half those yards came on 1 reception. Deebo 3 for 33, and George Kittle 2 for 4. And I know obviously he had a shoulder thing at the end of the game. That's the really scary part for Kansas City, I think, is they were so down offensively. They played an extremely sloppy football game. Isaiah Pacheco had, I think, a really rough showing for them offensively.
Mm-hmm.
But Pat's legs bail you out. They get Kelce going in the second half. Pat led the team in rushing. Team has 2 turnovers of their own. Pat throws his first interception 7 games in the postseason. 2 for 6 in the red zone. And lo and behold, here we are. They still win the game.
Kyle, they scored
the only time they drove the length of the field and scored a touchdown was in overtime.
Right. They scored 17 points in the AFC Championship game against Baltimore. Did nothing in the second half. And they need overtime to get over 20 in the Super Bowl. Like, it's Pat Mahomes, but like, this team can play defense, and the margins on special teams, they win it every time. Bucker never misses. Townsend's the best punter in the game. They get some fortuitous bounces all the time in special teams. It's a big part of their Eagles win last year was that horrible line drive punt by Aaron Sipros that set up the long punt return that gave him like 6 yards before they score like a go-ahead touchdown.
Yep.
It's as much the defense winning and the margins as it is Mahomes. And
it's winning in the margins for the style of play. And then you look at the team building element. I know we went over that on Thursday too, but like moving on from a guy like Tyreek Hill and what they did with the assets that they got as a part of the like winning salary cap, pay with a quarterback on a high market deal that's probably going to get readjusted. Like, they found so many different ways to win in the margins, and when the margin for victory and the margin for error in the NFL is always so slim on a game-by-game basis, the fact that they have these compounding ways in which they find edges on top of, we just have one of the best coaches of all time, one of the best quarterbacks of all time.
Yeah.
That's how they end up in this spot where it's a down year and the conference is wide open, and lo and behold, they go on the road for 2 playoff games for the first time in this era, and they win them, and then they go win their 3rd Super Bowl.
Kyle Shanahan's legacy?
The only other thought I had talking special teams was I just last night realized how much Mitch Wisnowski looks like Jaime Lannister, and it made me a little uncomfortable.
Oh, wow. Let me Google that real quick.
They showed him on the sideline at the end of the game.
Yeah, that dude. That's
I'm like, oh man, Jaime Lannister signed with the Niners. I had no idea.
This is 100% true. This is 100% true. I'm glad that at least I've seen Game of Thrones, so we can connect over this.
Correct.
Yeah, that's a heck of a take.
Shanahan's legacy. You've seen the tweets, I'm sure, at this point. Shanahan's coached in 3 Super Bowls as offensive coordinator with the Falcons, and then 2 in the 49ers. He's had double-digit leads in all 3 of them, and he's 0-3.
Mm-hmm.
This one's tough because on the one hand, I'm sympathetic to you had a muff punt off a guy's leg and you had a blocked extra point because your kicker hit one low. I'm sympathetic to those things, but your guys didn't know overtime rules. You made a baffling decision with the start of overtime and how you chose to possess or not possess the ball. And the final 2 possessions, you have kill shot opportunities. You settle for kicking field goals against Pat Mahomes.
On the other hand, right, this is his second Super Bowl team, one with Jimmy Garoppolo, one with Brock Purdy, to which I say, congratulations on being in the NFC and not having to go through Kansas City to get to Super Bowls or even conference championship games.
And they'll probably be back in a conference championship game again next.
What's going to they have staying power in the NFC. Well, AFC is just a whole nother problem because Mahomes is there.
What needs to happen in your mind for them to get over the hump? Obviously, that's the conversation is
for the 49ers?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's as much situational football as anything, but I think is that
the hardest pill to swallow? Is the situational stuff just as much as there were some bad bounces?
Yeah, I mean, this is my life as well. But here's the question that I keep going back to. Did the 49ers have the capacity to win the Super Bowl? Did they have good enough players to do it? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was circumstances, right? So you can sit here and you can have all these fun conversations about all these players that the 49ers need to add or whatever team has Kansas City in the way of them achieving their goals, right? A lot of teams with the capacity to do it that circumstantially they just don't pull it off.
Right.
I think if you do want to look at the 49ers through that lens, I think some of Brock Purdy's limitations showed up in that football game as Spags started to heat him up and, he couldn't find quick answers and try to rely on some athleticism that wasn't there and rely on some arm talent that wasn't there. I think the 49ers have made some concessions with their offensive line talent. I thought that showed up in certain instances in the football game where they got beat up a little bit.
Yep.
So that's kind of where I'd be focusing on if I thought there was capacity issues. Those would be the 2 things that come to mind for me.
I think that's a great call out for them is aside of Trent Williams, and obviously Trent's getting towards
Trent had a rough game too. That was one of the worst games I've ever seen for Trent Williams. So, and that's a broadcast reaction, right? So keep that in mind, but there were some obvious blunders there.
Yeah. San Francisco, 5 first downs rushing the ball. They averaged 3.5 yards per carry. And McCaffrey had that one big scoot, right? Or I guess that was in the passing game, the 24-yard catch and run.
Yeah.
San Francisco had 1 rush of more than 9 yards in the game.
How about Steve Wilkes trying to play sticks defense on that last drive? Shanahan going to call a timeout. Brother, we're not doing this again.
Yeah. All in all, another season in the books. Kansas City, you got your 3. Go away for a while. Right? I know you have no love lost for Tom Brady, but part of the endearing thing of how the Patriots get to 6 is they won 3 and then they went away for like 10 years and then they came back and won a few more. So
put them to sleep for 10 years, Kyle. What do we do? What do I need? Do I need to eat something? Is there any personal habits that I can change?
Yeah, if you don't want to have to worry about Kansas City for the next 10 years, you need to turn into Rip Van Winkle and go to sleep for the next 10 years and I'll wake you up. That's how you achieve that. So that's going to do it for us on this Super Bowl recap. We have another show coming today. We're getting into our offseason mode in full swing, which we are looking forward to. You can find that as well as all of our programming on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. I'm Kyle Krabs. He's Joe Marino. We appreciate you guys checking out the Super Bowl post-game recap. Talk to y'all again soon.